We were at with the investigation. That will be ongoing. That will take a number of weeks for us to bring that to conclusion, because there's quite a bit of work to do. We will be looking at the manufacture of the gauge, how it was set up at the mine site, how it was taken down, how it was packed, and the transfer, and then obviously receipt, and whether that was all done in accordance with the Radiation Safety Act and the transport regulations. So that's where we're currently at the moment. But I'm happy to take questions, or Superintendent Ray.
Are all the companies, SGS, Rio and Centurion, are they all been forthcoming with their help in during the investigation?
Yep, all of the companies have been highly cooperative. There's been obviously a number of companies that have assisted us, both companies involved with the original transport, but then other companies that have assisted us in providing resources to make sure we could do this in an effective way.
On the truck driver side, to transport these materials with all these certifications and everything, are they all professionally certified?
Yes, the truck drivers are. There is a requirement for certification for any trucking line that is transporting radioactive sources, and certainly the advice I have is that there's been no concerns about the certification of those truck drivers.
What about the procedures? Were every procedure followed, for example?
So we are looking at that as part of the investigation, to make sure that every procedure was followed appropriately, and to make sure that it was done in accordance with the regulations and the Act.
Rio Tinto has offered to foot the bill for the search. When will we know how much this search has actually cost?
It will take us some time, and I might pass to Superintendent Ray on that question, because being on the operational side of it, the kind of costs that may be incurred. But once that amount is, and once we've actually generated what that amount is and worked it out, then it becomes a question for government as to whether they want to take up Rio's offer.
Experts have also said the legislation is changed, and there's a bit of a wake-up call as to how this capsule was transported. It maybe should have been in machinery and then in a box. What is your response to that?
So what Rio Tinto did was, obviously they asked a specialist company, to put that radiation source, appropriately package it. We will be investigating whether that was done, but if it is appropriately packaged, then they will have, it should be complied with. Whilst a few people have raised concerns about the regulations, we comply with the national and international regulations around the transport and storage of these materials. So the regulations per se are the most up-to-date around the world. They are linked to changing any changes to national or international regulations.
Were there any difficulties in sourcing a lead box to transport it down from where it was going to Perth?
No, we obviously planned that we would find it, and so we had the appropriate lead storage containers with us, with the teams that went up. So that was already planned for, and we obviously have those. There are, thousands of sources that move around every year, and obviously there are a lot of the containers required to do that.
Question for Darryl.
Yeah.
Thank you. Darryl, you talked before about the equipment that was used in
Yep.
the search, and some of that equipment, no doubt, was helpful in finding the capsule. Can you be a bit more specific about what sort of machinery or what sort of equipment was used?
No, I can't, because I'm not an expert on it. But to be honest, ANSTO and APANSA want to spread what equipment they've used. And I think there's an opportunity tomorrow for media, before they go at the airport, that they want to be able to share that. So you might be able to catch that tomorrow, sorry.
You said you're proud to be part of the team, and you're always going to find it.
Yeah.
What do you think about these claims before it was found out, even in the case they couldn't never happen?
If it was on the route that we were going to search, the equipment was going to find it. The question was whether or not, a tyre had picked it up and had taken it off the route. That was probably the only doubt that I would have had about locating it, because if it went off where we were, where that goes, who knows where that would be. but I was pretty confident since day one on finding it where we looked, you know.
How did ANSTO and the other kind of peripheral groups get involved? Did you contact them or did they contact you? Or?
Yeah, so last Friday we put out a request to the Commonwealth for assistance. We said what our need was, and ANSTO, the ADF and PANSA answered our calls for help. From Monday onwards, the ADF were on the road. From Monday afternoon, ANSTO were in town, and Tuesday, PANSA arrived. So yeah.
What did the ADF do?
Same thing.
With that, the
Yeah.
same equipment?
Similar equipment, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And
Yeah.
can you tell us where you were when it was first found?
Yeah.
Can you kind of get into the details of the team on the ground? Like, how did they react?
Yeah. The small team, we had a small team in a closed room when the phone call came through. There was only 4 of us, and we kept it secret for a while until the press release. We had an office of about 20 different people, and we kept it from them for about 4 hours, so I think we did all right. We're at Belmont, in the regional office in Belmont. The team's on the ground, so we had a DFS vehicle following the ANSTO vehicle, doing 70, and about 74k south of Newman. Everything spiked and their computers went mad, and they hit the brakes, flew out of the vehicle in excitement. We took control of the scene, set up a hazmat zone, a hot zone, controlled the entry. We verified the source with 3 different pieces of equipment as well, just to make sure that 100% before we before they even pulled the trigger and rang us. And the ADF were heading, so they were heading south from Newman. The ADF were heading north at the same time. They were about an hour south. Their equipment would have picked it up as well. But the ADF were also equipped and trained in the recovery side, so they took over the recovery. They entered the hot zone, they picked the device up, verified the number because we had to turn it over. The serial number was facing down. So we weren't 100% sure that it was the one that was missing, so we had the original serial number. They managed that, 100% identified it, and then they sent in another team to pick it up and put it in the pig.
And there's a photo that was released yesterday. It kind of seems like the image has been doctored a little bit. That photo, was there like a lens or something taken to stop the radiation blur, or
So there was 2 photos released. The initial photo came from a phone that was zoomed in just to show us that we found it.
Yeah.
And then the ADF took a photo right in with a big lens to take a photo of the capsule itself and get the serial number off. And I think they released that as well, the second one. Yeah. Some of it was blurred over the serial number from damage on where it's hit the road and been run over. So there was I think there was eight figures, letters and numbers, and I think one and a half were damaged, but the rest was identical.
So you think that it was hit by a car or like driven over?
Oh, highly likely. It's on the main highway, so yeah. No, 100% not. So it's been tested. So part of the recovery efforts was to pick it up, put it in the pit, make it safe, and then the crews then re-entered the hot zone from a contamination perspective to make sure that it was clear and safe, and that's been verified by Radiation Health as well. Oh, one of hundreds. No, definitely not, because the capsule's intact. So. Yeah.
I'm assuming that the staff who are working around it, they had to wear special gear. What was kind of safety precautions?
So time and distance is our friend with radiation, so they put all that in place. They restricted the amount of time that somebody was near it to be able to turn it over, and near it to take a photo, and near it to pick it up, and that kind of process. So they wear extra PPE when they do that, which is all still for a pretty short period of time, but it's...
The conditions, I mean, it's hot down here, it would have been...
It's hotter up there, yeah.
Any idea what kind of conditions they were working?
It was 40 plus, just over 40, so yeah. Took about 4 hours to recover it from all the planning and practicing, and they went through the routines. They set up a mock area, and they tested their procedures of sending different people in, and practiced it so that when they did it the first time, that it was going to be right. So.
Sure, yeah. There were questions before about the costs and how much the operation would have cost from an operational resources point of view. Any idea?
No. So no dollar figures on it at the moment. It'll be in the tens of thousands. Of course, there's been 60 people. There's a lot of aircraft flying over. There's accommodation. There's vehicles. There's overtime. It all adds up. Final figure, don't know. The main thing for us from a priority was public safety, not the cost. So the cost was irrelevant from us from the go. Incidents cost a lot, regardless. Any major bushfire, there's lots of cost. Our priority is putting whatever area is safe. So.
And what kind of training do DFS staff get in radiation, radioactivity incidents like that? And do you ever think that you're going to have to use it?
So we train heavily in hazmat. So from any hazardous substance, radiation is obviously one of many. We set up the zones, our hot zones, and use PPE and identify the product accordingly and go through those procedures. We do a lot of training in that. I didn't think I'd go to a radiation one though. No. Yeah.
Obviously, it's hard to tell without the investigation, but it's going to change things in the future. I guess prevent something like this happening again.
I can't. I'd rather not comment on the procedures that potentially led to this. It's out of my realm, but hopefully it doesn't happen again. Yeah.
Did you learn anything from a response perspective that you'll change next time?
There's an after-action review that we'll do. The interagency relationships that we've had between all the federal agencies in particular that have come together for the first time in an incident like this was incredible. There was a lot of learnings that we can all learn. Even internationally, there's interest over the success on how it was planned and executed. So there'll be an after-action review on it, but yeah.
And just quickly, when was DFS actually first notified of it?
On the 25th.
Okay.
The same day as police and radiation health.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any more? Happy to take more? No?
All good, yeah. Thanks, gentlemen.
All righty.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So you mentioned that they're going to be doing something tomorrow. Is that ants?
Yeah, they're leaving.
Okay.
So they're happy to catch up from a media point of view.
Yeah.
If you want to interview the actual team that found it, the person that found it from ANSTO, the equipment that they used, they're happy to talk to the media tomorrow morning about that.
Show off the equipment and stuff.
Yeah, so they fly out at, don't quote me, I think 12 o'clock. So they have to check in earlier and all that kind of stuff. But we can go through DFS media on what that looks like. So.
12 p.m. tomorrow.
I believe so. Don't quote me on the time, but DFS media can confirm that, yeah.
So did they fly over, not with the vehicles, but with the equipment?
Yeah.
And then they were set up in the vehicles?
Yeah.
Which I'm assuming was provided by the government in some...
They're high cars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
No worries.
Thank you. Oh, did you have
Brilliant. That's out of my realm.
I think they need to contact our chief of
contact your
staff.
pods? Yeah, so we'll tell them to contact your pods.
Yeah, it's for them to figure out.